This is a quick talk on cross-origin resource sharing. Go to Wikipedia if you want to know a bunch about it. But the main point of cross-origin resource sharing is it's a way for one site of services or website or REST services, that type of thing. It's a way for that site to tell browsers that that site should not be contacted from inside of a website or an application vended up from another site. It's a way that servers can try and tell browsers how they're allowed to be shared or where they're allowed to be called from. So basically, if we look at this, hey, there's a blog article about this. The idea is that servers specify CORS or cross-origin requests that can be shared, basically what domains they can share with, and browsers implement CORS. CORS is really designed to protect users. It doesn't protect servers at all. Why? Because it's implemented in the client. So if you have a client that doesn't implement CORS, or you have an application that you wrote that goes against multiple websites, CORS has nothing to do with that. It won't help you at all. It's really designed to help with browser sessions. So how does it, what does the flow look like? And I'm sure people who are experts on this will send me a whole bunch of messages about where I'm off by a little bit, but in the kind of that the higher level, basically what happens is a user in a browser goes to some domain and they get a web app, they get like an Angular app, or they just get a web page. That web page has got JavaScript in it. Any request from that app that goes back to the same site, the same host name, is considered to be in the same domain. It's the same origin, and therefore CORS doesn't apply at all. Any application that's coughed up by a site can call any service back on that same site. That makes sense, right? Because they're both owned by the same entity. Now, if that same application were to go to a second domain, I'm going to an ad site or I'm going somewhere else, the way CORS works is the browser will send a CORS request and be like, hey, am I allowed to call you from this other domain, or what domains am I allowed to call you from? That service will then cough up a list. It'll either say no one, or only itself, or everybody, or it'll give you a list of very specific hosts that are allowed to call it. So that way, if you want to be able to share, or you want somebody to be able to call one of your services, but not everybody, you can do that, right? So in the second stream here, it'll go and get the CORS request, and then if that CORS request says that original domain is allowed, it'll call it, and if it doesn't say it's allowed, it'll block it. You'll get an error in the page, right? So this is all cooperation with the browser. It's implemented on the client, right? So what I wanted to point out here is these are specified by the server, but they're ignored by applications if they were hard-coded. So if I wrote a C# app or a Java app or a Python app or something else, or some kind of script or some kind of whatever, in that case, the CORS would be ignored completely, and anybody can make any call they want. This is really to protect users from accidental bad things coming from some website that they actually shouldn't be trusted. So what happens here? CORS specification. What am I allowed to specify? If I'm that domain and I have coughed up a REST service and I want to be able to let certain people use it, or certain services use it, certain domains use it, how do I do that? The main things there's only really 3 things. There's no wild carding at all. You can't say star.mydomain.com. Doesn't work. You can say everything's allowed. I'm a wide open public service, like an ad site. No one can call me. No cross origin, which means only web pages or JavaScript that originated from the exact same host name with the request was made on. That would be none, right? So no, only same origin is allowed, or specified exactly. So if you have a couple cooperating applications inside your company, an identity, a pro user profile, and a billing, and an ordering cart, right? And they're all on 3 different host names, and you want those to be able to be called from the same browser application because you have this really cool Angular app or whatever, React or something, right? Then the CORS entities in all those servers would have to have, when they cough up the domain name, it would have to be the domain name of the web app itself, right? So in that case, if you have a bunch of cooperating applications, basically all your backend services or all your REST service endpoints would end up having a list of all the user interface servers that you have in your company, right? And that's because you can either do everything or no origin, or you can specify exactly the host names. So there is a way to work around CORS, right? And one of the ways to work around CORS is on your own website, if you don't want to have to put CORS on each application, is you could use a proxy server, or you could make your web server that coughed up your static content act as a reverse proxy, In that case, all the requests look like they come from the same domain to the browser. It doesn't know they're being proxied on the back. And in that case, all communication from your application to all the other back-end services and all the hosts inside your domain would work fine because they were proxied, right? So that would just work, and a lot of teams will do that, and that way they don't have to mess with CORS on their boxes. Anyway, so like I said, this is cross-origin resource sharing. This pictures and stuff are out on the website, on the blog, and I hope this helped a little bit understand kind of what CORS is aimed at, what it's good for, and where it doesn't actually apply. Have a great day.